So bear with me on this video. It might go a little bit longer than you would like, but we're going to go over some of the transform tools in Illustrator. I'm going to start with making a star tool. Feel free to follow along with me with this tutorial. It might be easier to remember how to use various tools. But here I have just a basic star. Let's say I want to just play around with the basic shapes of this star. And there are all these different tools in here. So the width tool, the warp tool, the twirl tool, etc. I'm going to make some copies first by holding down that Alt button and dragging. Now, so let's go back into these tools here. They're located right underneath the rotate tool. There's this width tool, and you can kind of see what it does, or I'm sorry, the warp tool. You can kind of see what it does. As I move it in, it's kind of changing those shapes up a little bit for me. If I hold this down, I have a few other ones. Here's the twirl. Oops, I have to select it first. Twirl tool will twirl different options. You can explore those on your own, just see what each one of those does. To change the size of this little tool here, you have to hold down the Alt button. Going to the left will change the width. Going to the right will make it longer, skinny, long, up and down. And then of course you can go diagonal to change both at the same time. Kind of gets a little confusing at first, but right, left, up, down, diagonal makes it proportionate. So those are those tools in here. Some more things that I want to go over are the transform tools up at object. So at object at the top and transform, you have all these tools: move, rotate, reflect, scale, shear, transform each. There's a few things that you can do in here. What I'd like to go through, I'm going to make a shape, just kind of like a unique shape just for the purposes of our tutorial. So I just made this quick shape here. If I select this shape and I go to object at the top, transform and reflect, and rotate, I can choose how much to rotate this object. So I can say, let's say I want to rotate it 45 degrees, preview it, it's going to rotate that 45 degrees for me. You can, of course, use your shift tool to rotate things, but say you want to make a rotation of this object, but you want to copy it. I can copy that tool right there. Another thing you have up here is object, transform, reflect. So here I can choose to reflect this object over onto the other side, either vertically, which is left to right, or horizontally, which is up and down. So vertically, you can see it reflects it across. Horizontally, you can see it reflects it up and down. And of course, let's say I want a vertical copy, I can copy that instead of pressing OK. So this will give you a nice even and nice symmetrical types of shapes. Another thing that I can do up in here is when I select a shape, I can go to transform and I can go to transform each. So here I can say I want it to scale up horizontally, move down vertically, and rotate at a 45-degree angle. You may never use this, but it also does give you just a little bit of an idea of what you're going to be doing with that. The last thing I want to show you is kind of a unique tool, is using the rotate tool to create different types of shapes. So if I just going to take this stroke off here just for our purposes, and I'm going to use the transform rotate tool. Actually what I want to do is use the rotate tool down in the actual toolbox. When I use that tool, I can pull up the option box for that. So let's say I have this little petal selected here. Going to the rotate tool, you see this target. That means I'm going to rotate it around that target. Now, holding down Alt, I can choose exactly where that target is. So let's say I want that target to be here. this shape is going to rotate around that spot. I want it to rotate all the way around, so I'm just going to type in 360 degrees, and I want there to be 12 of those shapes. Previewing it, you can kind of see where that's going to end up. I'm going to press copy, and I have that shape repeated this way. Now instead of going through and rotating that over and over and over again, I can use my transform again option, which is Control D. So notice Control D, I can continuously make those options. This is kind of a fun tool to use. You can make some pretty fun patterns with those using different shapes, but this is how you use the transform tools.